Cut off the head of these animals and they'll likely bite you in revenge. It seems impossible to believe that some animals can live after death, but they do. They can move, crawl, walk, and survive just about anything. Curious about which animals can do that and how exactly they do it? Here are 6 animals that can live after death. Focus, they may hold the secret to immortality. Number 6. Cobras. As if cobras couldn't be any more terrifying, they can still seriously harm you after death. Don't believe us? Take this chef Guangdong province in China for example. In August 2014, Peng Fan was going on his everyday business preparing a soup dish. On the side was a cobra. It had been over 20 minutes since the cobra's head was cut off. Yet, somehow, this animal that can live after death reacted. Just as the chef was about to toss the head in the trash, it bit the chef. And not just that, but it killed him. He is one of many who had stared a dead cobra in the eyes right before it attacked them. In January 2014, another snake, this time a venomous red-bellied black snake, was by all means dead for an entire 45 minutes. A shovel was the tool used to cut it in half. Again, somehow, it eerie rose and bit a man. This could be credited to reptiles and their notoriously slow metabolism, which is dramatically slower than most animals. That means even after death, they can still remain alive for some time or at least display living qualities such as moving and biting. Their brains still retain those lightning-fast reflexes. If you're unfortunate enough to be near a dead snake, forget about checking if it's really dead or not, just get out of there. Number 5. Chickens. Depending on your definition of dead, just because a chicken is headless doesn't necessarily mean it's moved on to the land beyond living things. There is some truth to the saying of running around like a headless chicken because, as it turns out, they can run. One of the most credible sources for this is Mike the Headless Chicken, which is also aptly called Miracle Mike. Now, Mike the Headless Chicken didn't just live after it was supposed to die, but it lived for 18 months. Let us take you all the way back to 1945. Farmer Lloyd Olson had just chopped a chicken's head off with an axe. In a strange turn of events, Olson's cat intervened. It leaped up, snatched the head off the table, and sprinted, making Olson make not so clean a cut. The chicken's brainstem, or most of it, remained intact, allowing Miracle Mike to breathe, eat, walk, and do all the things a chicken could do. Lloyd Olson ended up taking Mike the Headless Chicken with him on tours all over the country. At one point, Mike was pulling in thousands of dollars per month. Mike eventually died 18 months after the incident, and not for the reason you think. He choked on a corn kernel after being left alone unsupervised. Number 4. Scorpions. Make no mistake, scorpions have been on this planet longer before than we have, and they'll likely stick around for longer than we ever will. Scorpions have been around for hundreds of millions of years, making every continent their own, capable of surviving and thriving in almost all habitats. These survivors are just that. They'll survive anything you throw their way. They can live through impossible circumstances. If someone ever told you the way to kill a scorpion is to drown them, they were deadly mistaken. Scorpions can slow down their metabolism to the point that they'll survive a drowning attempt. And not just that, but live in the water for up to 2 days. Scorpions also can't be frozen. As soon as they're unfrozen, they'll hop back along to their everyday routine. Starvation is an unlikely option as well. Their exoskeletons allow them to live for months on end after any other animals would starve to death. A scorpion will outlive death by a year if given the chance. Number 3. Alligators. Alright, so an undead cobra is terrifying, but is it more horrifying than an undead alligator? Judge for yourself. On average, even a sickly alligator is a great threat to anything in its vicinity. A healthy alligator can do even more damage. An undead alligator? It will come back with a vengeance. Alligators are special animals. Their bargain with death makes itself known when it's winter. As the temperatures drop down to dramatically low freezing points, alligators will do what they've been doing for millions of years. Visitors and even workers at the Charlotte River Swamp River Park in North Carolina were surprised to see this firsthand. The park made headlines when its 18 alligators started to display this eerie survival mechanism. From the looks of it, they looked like cypress trees with teeth bared poking through the ice water. The gators' 500-pound heavy bodies remained entirely underwater. All you see of them will be a glimpse of their snout, which has icicles stuck to it. By all means, they're dead. They'll remain in this frozen state for months. They won't eat, and their metabolism will be so low that it's a miracle they don't freeze to death. But they don't. Give them a few months, a little bit of sunshine, and the alligator's reptilian eyes will snap open, and it'll go back to terrorizing the waters. Number 2. Tardigrade. To be honest, there is not much that could kill a tardigrade. These semi-microbes are also known as water bears, and they are one of the most hardcore survivors the world has ever seen. Save a few threats, they're indestructible, and believe it or not, but they're normally just a millimeter long. On a daily basis, tardigrades look death in the eyes and challenge it. Drop them in freezing temperatures? No problem, they'll survive. No oxygen? Not a problem, they'll just get rid of the water in their cells. Temperatures are as high as boiling 304 degrees Fahrenheit? So what? Have you seen them enduring environments void of water? Neither poses a serious threat to their health. Faced with radiation, they won't shed a tear or even sweat. And lastly, the most mind-boggling thing they can survive. Tardigrades can endure trips to outer space. One has even survived 10 days in low Earth orbit. For years on end, a tardigrade can survive whatever life throws its way. It only needs to be exposed back to the water a few hours and it will reanimate. It will literally take a few apocalypses to make tardigrades go extinct. Nothing short of the sun exploding will do the trick. Up until then, tardigrades are expected to stay for the next 6 billion years or so. Number 1. Turritopsis Dohrnii. The secret to cheating death, to immortality, and to regenerating limbs isn't on Earth. It's floating in the ocean. Take a look at Turritopsis Dohrnii, also known as the one creature in the world that can truly be called immortal. Resurrection from the dead is an average Tuesday to them. Faced with a threat, starvation, or injury, they don't just pack and start a new life somewhere else. They start a new life cycle. How does it do that? Most people are familiar with the life cycle of jellyfish. The form that comes to mind when picturing jellyfish is called the Medusa stage, which is what the second stage of their lives is called. Jellyfish start out as larvae, which are these tiny creatures that float through the water looking for something to attach themselves to. Once they find a rock or something of a similar nature, they move on to the next stage. The larva turns into a polyp, which is like a tiny sea anemone. There can be entire colonies of these polyps. When polyps bloom, they turn into baby jellyfish. All of this sounds strange to start with, but when death comes to play a role, that's when things get real otherworldly. When the immortal jellyfish dies, it doesn't. It sinks to the bottom of the ocean floor and begins to decay. The cells start something odd. It doesn't heal itself, as in it doesn't turn back to a new Medusa. It turns back into polyps, and from these polyps emerges a new, old life, the same genetically identical jellyfish that just cheated death. And these are all the animals that can live after death that we have for you today. What did you think of these death-defying, amazing animals? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And before you go, if you want to see more videos like this, Subscribe to Weeklypedia and click that notification bell to be alerted whenever we upload a new video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.